Well, uh, you see, when you have a huge attack like
Do you
that,
agree first, sir, with what Dr. Yassin said?
well, this is my answer. It's when you're on 2 points. The first point is when you can see, okay, you can forecast that this policy, these politics cannot continue, and at a certain time he will stop. Meanwhile, you will have to suffer a lot of damages, and these damages can be sustainable for a long time. A few months, a year, 2 years, 4 years. You never know. So then it will be irreversible. So this is why all these countries, especially the EU, will resist to that, because normally you have two ways to renegotiate established practice in business. Either you go to the multilateral forum, which is the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, and then you put your question on the table and you say, okay, dear colleagues, let's discuss. We have a problem with the steel, or we have a problem with aircraft industry, or whatever, and we want to negotiate it. And then you open a session in the World Trade Organization. And then you have the other way is to start with bilateral negotiations. He started with Canada, with Mexico, with now with the EU. But then the way is a negotiation.
He started with everywhere, sir.
Sorry?
He started with all countries.
Yes, but then you will here. Donald Trump has used another method. He puts the law aside, and then he started to try to make a deal without referring to the law. Just a matter of how is the equilibrium of force of the forces. And this is why he's trying to be pushy, to force people, to force countries to surrender and to accept his deal. And this is now he's using the diplomacy of deals and not the diplomacy in the classical way. But here you have all the countries, especially the EU, they will resist, they will retaliate, and it will go climbing until they reach a settlement, so Donald Trump can change his mind.
Yes, sir, especially when they together they collaborate together, then it's going to be even worse, and the counter defense attack will be even stronger. Dr. Yassin, analyzing Trump's strategy, is this a calculated risk or a fundamental miscalculation? What are the quantitable, sir, indicators of a potential U.S. economy backlash, and how might that feed back into global markets, sir?
Well, I can't call what Donald Trump is doing as the strategy, because what he's doing is against.
What do you call it, sir? What do you call it?
Let me explain. So his measures of raising tariffs.
Dr. Yassin, sorry for interrupting you. You don't call it a strategy. What do you call it?
Well, I call it chaos. I call it economic chaos. I call it steps taken by someone who doesn't understand the basics about economics. I mean, at the end of the day, Donald Trump, he is like a trader in the state market. I mean, all what he knows to buy properties and sell properties and manage properties. And because of his wealth, he became president of the United States. And because he tried in his first presidential period to impose tariffs, and that reflected positively in for some sector within the American society. And that's why he was re-elected again. And now in his second term, he became even more dangerous. He became more chaotic. Those tariffs definitely will be reflected in a very, very economic loss for the American economy mainly, because those tariffs at the end of the day will be paid by the American consumer, by the American companies. And here I have to remind everyone, the parameters and the dimensions of the American economy relies a lot on import. Like American companies and also the American consumer, they have got used on decades to import cheap products from China and from other countries in Southeast Asia. And those products, when they are risen in value by about between 10 to 20% because of Trump tariffs, at the end of the day, the consumer will be paying this gap, this difference. I don't see the Chinese companies will be paying for those tariffs. So at the end, when the consumer feels like his purchasing power has declined because of what Trump is doing, that will result in increasing the inflation